Hey Stoic soul, welcome back to the only place on the internet where your chaos comes to rest, where you can shed the weight of daily battles and listen to stories stitched with wisdom, struggle, and just enough tragedy to make you grateful for your own humble cup of instant coffee. Tonight, you'll drift through the echoing walls of Don Ramon's home, not as tourists, but as warriors examining a mirror of simplicity, loss, and hidden strength. Here, we won't just gossip about nostalgia. We'll excavate the humility and hard lessons that Chespirito never told you about, all wrapped in the comfort of gentle humor and the chillest existential anxiety you'll ever experience. Breathe in. Settle down. This is not a drama, but a meditation on detachment, dignity, and the quiet power of poverty. You stand at the threshold of Don Ramon's house, a corrugated tin door bracing against both wind and whispers. The smell of overcooked beans, the symphony of leaky roofs, and laughter that covers hunger. Before you step inside, remember, sometimes lack is the greatest teacher, and this is the classroom where pride meets humility without apology. The door creaks open, like it's auditioning for a horror film about loose hinges, and you step over a threshold marked by decades of reluctant sandal prints. Welcome to Don Ramon's world, part epic saga, part sitcom, and mostly a lesson in radical acceptance. Here, even the cockroaches observe a kind of formal stoicism, pausing at the edge of the cracked tiles as if to bow to your arrival. Inside, the air hangs heavy, warm, a bit humid, and faintly herbal. Like yesterday's oregano got nostalgic. Bare walls tell stories with every chip and child's doodle. Over in the far corner, a one-eyed teddy bear presides over an empire of missing socks, its gaze forever fixed on some point of existential fuzziness. You can almost imagine the bear saying, "Amor fati mi amigo." Love your fate, even if it's missing an eyeball and both arms. Don Ramón himself sits in a chair whose legs know more about adaptation than most philosophers. He sips his coffee, actually recycled grounds for the third time, nodding as if he's just solved the riddle of existence, or at least outwitted the electric company for one more week. His mustache is glorious, a thick and sincere statement that there's nothing ironic about survival. You find there's more wisdom in this living room than at a year's worth of TED Talks, wrapped in the language of proverbs, practical jokes, and extremely competitive games of dominoes. The very floor is a testament to resilience, each tile wobbling like it's practicing patience until someone comes along with a spare peso for repairs. Don't mind the plastic bucket in the corner, call it Plan B for evening rain. Everyone needs a little stoic contingency planning, especially in places where the roof is more negotiable than the rent. The TV hums with static, reality's white noise. It keeps the spirits company, Don Ramón declares, though you suspect the spirits are more interested in the beans. You can't control the signal, he shrugs, but you can tune the heart. The words drift into the air, oddly profound, and leave you pondering whether you, too, are just trying to tune a little signal into the ruckus of modern life. A calendar from 1993, torn at April, perpetually hopeful, hangs next to a row of keys with no doors left to open. In the world of Don Ramón, objects have second and third lives. A plastic bag becomes a kite, a glass jar reincarnates as a drinking cup, and old newspapers rise again as slippers. Resourcefulness isn't just a necessity here, it's an art form. Life gets composted into wisdom, and wisdom, weirdly enough, sometimes ends up as patchwork curtains or philosophical graffiti. Here, nobody asks what you do for a living. They want to know how you're living. Can you laugh at your fortune, regardless of its size? Will you share your bread, or at least pretend not to notice when someone swipes your last tortilla. If Marcus Aurelius had lived here, he would have traded his togas for a really good poncho and all his meditations for the ability to keep beans from burning. So, you seat yourself on the sunken sofa, careful not to disrupt the delicate balance between spring and stuffing. Don Ramón grins at you with all the warmth of shared shortcomings. "Life knocks, mijo," he says. Sometimes with gifts, sometimes just to remind you your roof needs patching. Both are blessings. Both teach you something you won't soon forget. The wind rattles the tin door again, and for a moment, you understand the poetry of scarcity. That needing less is a superpower, and joy can be cobbled together from a patchwork of small, stubborn satisfactions. Before you move further into the house, take a breath. Embrace these cracked linoleum lessons. Leave your pride at the stoop. It's not waterproof anyway. Inside Don Ramon's world, humility is the only true currency, and laughter, always, is on the house. Every wall in Don Ramon's home knows what it means to be judged. You know the feeling. Judged by what you wear, what you lack, how little you own. Society shouts that poverty is a personal failure, but you and he know otherwise. Tonight, we examine why society confuses dignity with dollars and what self-respect really costs. Take Don Ramón, a man of infinite wits and, well, finite wallets. He's a master of Stoic fashion, making one threadbare shirt last longer than most celebrity marriages. Still, the neighbours tally his laundry days with more enthusiasm than an auditor after a Red Bull, forgetting, somehow, that respect cannot be cashed in at the bank. There's a peculiar game at play, where status is measured in shoes, not sincerity, and your worth is determined by the jingle in your pocket, not the kindness in your heart. It's exhausting pretending you have more than you do. Humans are expert actors. Just look how many people pretend to love pineapple on pizza. But the endless performance feeds shame like stray cats. It just keeps coming back for leftovers. The truth: poverty isn't a flaw, and struggle is not a stain on your record. Ancient Stoics wore simple cloaks, often out of protest against extravagant fashion and bloated ego. Seneca, who could afford a designer toga with matching sandals, sometimes went out in a plain attire just to remind himself, and everyone else, that self-worth beats net worth. Maybe you felt the burn of that sideways glance at the grocery store, the faint smile when you pull out a patched wallet, or the barrage of self-help podcasts shouting, "Manifest abundance," as if you might accidentally conjure a Lamborghini out of your pocket lint. Social shame is a surprisingly efficient virus. It spreads by suggestion, feeds on comparison, and only grows stronger when left in the dark. Stoicism, by contrast, is a lantern that lights up your own story, showing that what you lack in cash, you make up in character. If Don Ramón laughs while being broke, perhaps he's richer than most, because that currency can't be taxed or stolen. There's a twisted logic here. We assume that if you aren't making it, you must not be trying. As if poverty is a mood you can just snap out of with the right motivational quote. Have you tried not being poor today? Spoiler. It's not that simple, Karen. When society ties dignity to consumption, we're all set up for disappointment. That's why Don Ramón doesn't hide his empty pockets. With every witty comeback, he quietly sabotages a system built on shame. Let's be honest, poverty is not a character flaw, and yet, maintaining strong self-respect can seem heroic when even the furniture is giving you judgmental looks. But a wise Stoic knows, if you hinge your value on what is outside your control, like your bank balance or your neighbor's loud blender, you condemn your peace to a roller coaster controlled by strangers. Real dignity flows from living according to your values, not your valuables. So tonight, as you rest your head, perhaps on designer pillows, perhaps on a lopsided stack of dreams, remember Don Ramon's secret. Respect begins with how you treat yourself when the world isn't watching. Can you look in the mirror, even if it's cracked, and smile at the person staring back? Not because of what you have, but because of who you are. That's a kind of wealth nobody can repossess. Even your self-doubt will have to find somewhere else to sleep. How many times did Don Ramón refuse charity with a half smile and a joke about overdue rent? This is not just pride, it's resistance. The Stoic refusal to let yourself be defined by handouts or sympathy. What does it mean to say no when the world expects you to beg? Stoicism, at its drowsiest and most pajama-wearing moments, isn't about parading your suffering for applause or seeing who can build the tallest mountain out of emotional bandages. No, the true Stoic, be they philosopher, sitcom character, or insomniac with a YouTube playlist, rejects pity because they know the difference between weathering a storm and holding auditions for a rain cloud. Don Ramón isn't simply being stubborn when he declines coins. He's crafting a force field against pity, the glittery currency of bystanders and sentimental types in the plaza. Why say no? Because pity can become a blanket, warm, comforting, and dangerously heavy. Lie under it too long, and suddenly you're an honorary member of the Couch Potato Olympics, specializing in the 100-meter self-pity sprint. It turns a person's situation into a soap opera rerun. The Phantom of the Alcala, episode 46. More rent, still no pay. Don Ramón, with unmatched comedic timing, says, "I'd gladly take that coin, but then I'd owe you a consultation fee in existential dread." There's dignity in laughter, a rebellion in the punchline. This refusal isn't denial of reality. It's shaping the terms of your relationship with adversity. When you reject pity, you reclaim authorship. You become the mythic hero who says, "Yes, the gods may have cursed me with empty pockets, but they blessed me with an unlimited data plan for jokes." If you cry for yourself, the world might join in. Then turn the channel and forget. But if you transform your woes into a moment of wit, you teach others that hardship isn't an identity. It's a plot twist. Refusing pity is also about boundaries. The ancient Stoics knew the world is full of helpful citizens, kind souls, and at least one relative who always brings up your failures at Sunday lunch. They remind us, allowing someone else's sympathy to seep in unchecked can render you a supporting character in your own life. Don Ramón, master of the sleepless plaza, knows this. He keeps his suffering private, hidden behind an eyebrow raise and a well-timed "No me des, mejor ríete conmigo." If you must share your burdens, do so with flair, not with resignation. Pity, after all, invites a certain kind of audience, and not all applause is desirable. Some watch the humble struggle, eager for the moral of the episode. Others for the spectacle. The Stoics' quiet no is not a bid for martyrdom. It's the strategic refusal to become somebody's feel-good charity project, or to stick a "kick me, but softly, I'm fragile" sign on your own back. Of course, refusing pity doesn't mean refusing help. It's not about living in a cardboard fortress growing mushrooms of pride. It's a kind of self-respect, seasoned with a pinch of humour, using trouble as a prop, not a personality. It's knowing that the best punchlines come after the hardest weeks, that laughter is a payment more valuable than loose change. Tonight, as you listen, maybe you feel the weight of things unsaid, or the awkwardness of needing help. That's human. Don Ramón's lesson, and the Stoic challenge, is to accept what you need, but to shrug off the invitation to self-pity. to become the author and the comedian of your own sitcom episode, no matter how overdue the rent. To smile, say, "No, gracias," and reclaim your role, not just as a survivor, but as a connoisseur of cosmic punchlines. To be a father with empty pockets, but a full heart. This is a pain you might know. We unpack the heavy silence Don Ramón carried for his daughter, and how parental love, when stripped of gifts, reveals a stronger, quieter devotion. Sometimes, hugs are the only inheritance worth passing down. Picture Don Ramón, a blueprint for dads everywhere whose wallets hold more receipts than cash, and whose hearts seem to carry the cumulative weight of every empty purse. He embodies the father who keeps a patchwork mustache and dreams less about yachts and more about stretching a bag of rice. The man who, instead of tucking dollar bills under pillows, tucks his daughter in at night with stories patched together from the fabric of hope. The world expects fathers to be providers, to spin gold out of thin air, to somehow conjure new shoes, school supplies, and the occasional surprise ice cream sundae, even when the fridge is as echoey as a Stoic's idea of luxury. Don Ramón, though, teaches us something radical. Love doesn't run on the currency of consumerism. His daughter, with her stringy pigtails and stubborn optimism, learns to read her father's tired eyes not as a deficit, but as a form of devotion that no ledger could measure. That's not to say Don Ramón didn't feel embarrassment. Far from it. His morning routine included a silent negotiation with his own dignity as he ironed shirts that were more thread than fibre and faced neighbours with hope-crammed smiles. He carried the invisible tax of fatherhood. For fathers, like him, the loudest expression of love may be a simple, wordless squeeze of a daughter's hand on a day when the landlord's shadow loomed larger than life. Yet, what a lesson in presence this is. Stoics say that virtue isn't measured by what you possess, but how you act when you possess nothing but virtue itself. Detachment from material things isn't just theory here. It's the lived, Wi-Fi-less reality of Don Ramón. Each day, he models that a father's worth is not determined by the thickness of his wallet, but the willingness to show up, rain or shine, shame or payday. Imagine growing up with this kind of wealth. The kind that can't be stolen, repossessed, or lose value during inflationary heartbreaks. The worth of knowing, beyond the futility of wish lists and sales, that love endures even when the money runs out. Don Ramón shows that the heart can be a shelter when the roof leaks, that laughter at the dinner table, crafted out of jokes older than time, feeds the soul more than steak ever could. And of course, there's the comedy in it. The grumbly dad jokes, the smoke and mirrors budget tricks, the slightly too tight hugs that say, "I may not have new shoes for you, but I'll walk next to you with the ones I have until the soles give out." There's a raw, awkward heroism in surviving on affection alone. The kind of bravery that sings lullabies over the clamour of unmet needs. In the Stoic view, Don Ramón isn't impoverished. He is rich in what matters. He teaches his daughter that it's not what you can hand over, but whom you hold close that defines the true treasures of fatherhood. And as sleep carries you off tonight, may you remember, a father with empty pockets, but an open heart leaves a legacy no inheritance can match. What do you do when the world calls you a clown for surviving? Don Ramón wielded humour not as escape, but as fierce armour. We look at why those who laugh hardest are often the ones with most to survive, and why a joke is often stronger than a speech. Imagine you're sitting on a rickety bench, your pockets emptier than your inbox on a Saturday night, and the universe has the courtesy to hit you with a fresh dilemma right between the eyes. Your options? Scream, cry, or, like the Stoic sages and sitcom survivors before you, crack a joke so sharp, it might just slice through the tension. Laughter isn't just about forgetting your problems for a moment. It's the superhero cape you drape around your shivering soul when the world is pelting you with lemons, and also withholding sugar, water, and a cup. Seneca, the Roman Stoic with more wisdom than a self-help aisle, once said, "Sometimes, even to live is an act of courage." But let's be honest, to live and then to giggle about it, that's heroism at its finest. When life dumps chaos on your doorstep, family drama hotter than midday asphalt, deadlines chasing you like wild geese, or existential dread showing up unannounced, humor provides the necessary distance. It's a pause button for reality, an emotional airbag that inflates between us and the crash of circumstance. Those who wield laughter are often misunderstood. You might hear, "Don't you take anything seriously," as if the only way to confront darkness is with a stormy frown and Gregorian chants in the background. But the secret Stoics knew what modern meme creators instinctively understand. If you can get someone to chuckle, you can get them unstuck. Laughter is resistance, disguised as punchline. Don Ramón, with his empty pockets and wealth of jokes, could stop a fight with a well-timed quip. He didn't have much, but when life handed him hardship, he handed back a punchline. 2 for 1 if you paid attention. Let's not sugarcoat it. Sometimes life is a cosmic prank with no punchline in sight. Bills stack up, good intentions go astray, and your houseplants conspire to die in synchrony. When this happens, humor doesn't erase the hardship, it reframes it. A person who laughs while sweeping the floors of failure is not naive. They're the philosopher janitor, cleaning up despair with the only broom that never breaks, their wit. There's real psychological muscle behind this. Laughter coaxes your brain to trade in stress hormones for feel-good chemistry, like dopamine and oxytocin, the Costco-sized containers, not the sample packets. You're not ignoring problems. You're just handling them with the emotional equivalent of oven mitts. The Stoics may not have had Netflix specials or viral videos of cats falling over, but they knew the relief of a well-spun story, the medicine in a knowing wink. Humor also disarms life's bullies, both real and existential. Try arguing with someone who insists on making light of your most intimidating anxieties. Those bogeymen lose their sting when forced to dance to the sound of your laughter. The ancient Romans had public baths. We've got self-deprecating tweets and group chats overflowing with inside jokes. The point is the same. Humor helps us get through another day, and sometimes that day is all we've got. As a Stoic of the modern world, you can choose to meet pain with gravity, or, like Don Ramón, you can meet it with a grin and a joke that leaves hardship slightly more confused than you are. Let the critics call you a clown, for the clown survives. And sometimes, survival is the greatest act of rebellion. So the next time the universe tries to audition you for another episode of ultimate suffering, remember, your loudest laugh is also your strongest shield. And if you dare, try to make the universe giggle too. He swept the yard, mopped the hall, and greeted shame with a sigh, never a scream. The art of enduring the small daily humiliations. This is the Stoic's secret practice, the rehearsal for life's bigger tragedies. How do you face daily storms, and what does it mean to endure, not just survive? Endurance, you see, is less about gritting your teeth and more about the subtle art of not letting your eyebrows start a mutiny. The average citizen endures a seemingly endless parade of indignities: cold coffee, lukewarm meetings, distant relatives who want to tell you about their cat's gluten allergy, and bus drivers who shut the door just as you reach for it. Each one is a small raindrop in the floodwaters of existence. The true Stoic, though, cultivates the strength to remain unbothered, to let the deluge roll off them like water, off a duck's back, or the way cats seem to shake off your affection, unless it's precisely at 3:07 a.m. when you're trying to sleep. Silent endurance isn't about being robotic or hermetically sealed from emotion. It's about developing an inner bounciness, a psychological trampoline. Bad days don't disappear, but with practice, you bounce right through their soggy surface, shake yourself off, and proceed with a half smile. Because you know this too is training. You are being prepared for life's more theatrical crises by dealing with these pint-sized embarrassments. The dropped phone. The awkward good morning you blurt to a stranger who's actually just talking into their AirPods. Standing in line at the DMV, attempting to recall if you have a soul. Consider Epictetus, never owning more than a threadbare cloak and some sturdy philosophy. He'd tell you, it's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about things. Which is great advice, unless you're discussing socks with holes versus no socks at all. But the spirit remains. You have the chance to decide what will gnaw at you and what will simply pass like a forgettable sitcom. Modern Stoicism sneaks up on you, not just in grand gestures, but with the quiet, daily heroics. Waking up on a Monday and facing the inbox that multiplied while you slept, like it went out for a night with rabbits and had litters of unread emails. Drinking bad coffee and nodding at Brenda in accounting as she tells you the same story about her weekend 3 times, with incremental embellishments, the self-discipline to not hurl yourself out of a window, but to offer a gentle, "How lovely," as you die inside. That, friend, is silent endurance. Practice starts in the trivial. When your phone battery dies at 4% and you become a philosopher, pondering if the truth behind existence is just 42% brightness. When you lose your umbrella in a thunderstorm, drenched, but walk on as if somehow you meant to have a mobile spa treatment for your suit. When you sit in a waiting room, reading ancient magazines, and refuse to let the clock's glacial passage provoke you. These are the drills. The Stoic finds serenity beneath the surface, untangling knots of anxiety and modern absurdity, as if combing noodles with patience reserved for saints, or perhaps for people waiting for their food at a very, very slow restaurant. Endurance isn't apathy. It is acting with intentional composure, like a ninja in business casual. You witness your irritation. Ah, there you are. But you don't hand it the car keys. Silent endurance is refusing to narrate your misfortune at every turn. It is the invisible, daily heroism that never trends on social media. The tiny victories won against the urge to moan about traffic or the latest software update. It's replying, "All good," when you really mean, "This is the 4th circle of hell. Thanks for asking." In the silent Stoic endurance, you train yourself for resilience, brick by little brick. So when true misfortune strikes, you are already, secretly, mighty. Your heart bends, but does not break. Your mind sighs, but does not scatter. And, most gloriously of all, you carry on sweeping, mopping, sighing, and greeting the next round of indignities with a Stoic's secret, wry half-smile. Everyone thinks they know Don Ramón. Few do. Let's confront what it feels like to be misunderstood by neighbors, friends, even family. When the world gets your story wrong, how do you keep yourself right? Let's be honest. Everyone has been misread at some point. Maybe it was that time you tried to help a friend assemble furniture and they accused you of reading the instructions wrong. The Allen wrench is infinity-shaped for a reason, okay? Or when you thought bringing a Tupperware of leftover beans to a barbecue was a genius move, only to discover that societal norms apparently frown upon bean-based charisma. But there's a special sting to being misjudged, especially by those who are supposed to know you best. When society pegs you as grumpy guy with the hat, or the one who never pays his rent. As if that encompasses your soul. You start to wonder if you're speaking a different language, dialect, misunderstood S. Don Ramón, standing in the doorway with his eternally unpaid rent and tragicomic mustache, is a monument to all of us who have been unfairly reduced to stereotypes. The neighborhood sees only scraps of the man. A clash with Doña Florinda here, a nap interrupted by Señor Barriga there, but never pauses to read the whole story. What about the tender moments? The secret giggles he shares with kids, the flickers of pride at a daughter's kind word, the everyday courage it takes to smile when misfortune parks itself outside his door, like an uninvited neighbour who brought his own folding chair. There's a Stoic paradox here. The more intense and colourful your inner world, the more likely it'll collide with the grey, pixelated images others project onto you. It's like being a vivid oil painting, reduced to a blurry thumbnail. Except the thumbnail is wearing sandals and owes 3 months' rent. You might wonder if it's worth correcting everyone's flawed perception, or if it's better to just let them attend the parade of their own assumptions. After all, Marcus Aurelius never said, "Convince everybody at all costs, and while you're at it, see if they want to join your group chat." Instead, he'd probably tell you, people will think what they want. That's on them. What matters is who you are when nobody's looking, when the camera zooms out and the canned laughter fades. Now, that's Stoic wisdom. The only honest internal applause is the kind you hear when you're falling asleep and your brain replays the bloopers of your day. You survived. You didn't lose your temper, at least not audibly. You found humour in chaos, dignity in disaster, and maybe, just maybe, remembered to return the Allen wrench. So if you're out there, quietly heroic, holding your own stoic line against the tides of misconception, know this: being misunderstood is the price you pay for being original. The world prefers tidy biographies and clean narratives, but real life, like Don Ramon's hat, is crumpled, eccentric, gloriously unphotogenic. If they can't see the real you, the brave, complex, bean-bringing innovator that you are, that's not your burden to carry. Smile, dust off your mustache, and get some sleep. For tomorrow, the parade of assumptions starts anew, and the truly unseen souls are those too busy conforming to be misunderstood at all. There is a quiet sadness in every forgotten corner, a solitude louder than any eviction notice. Tonight, we touch the loneliness that no one saw, not even the people living next door. You'll learn why hiding pain is a form of courage, not cowardice. Imagine a laughter so pure, so full of life, that it echoes through thin apartment walls, bouncing between peeling wallpaper and the occasional cockroach, with a strong sense of comic timing. Beneath that laughter lives a weight, one you never see under all those late-night sitcom reruns and layers of perfectly rehearsed sarcasm. People are experts at camouflage. Some go for camouflage t-shirts. Others hide behind punchlines, thick as armor. Stoics, meanwhile, just blend into the silence because no one notices someone who never complains. It's a strange species, the lonely comedian, the one who makes everyone laugh at the office kitchen, then sneaks away with their tea, steaming like a tiny therapy cloud, to sit alone at their desk. The one who texts memes at midnight, just to reach out and hear the echo bounce back. Yes, the one who asks, "How are you?" and really means, "Can you see me?" This is the heroism that shows up late, when all the party guests have gone home, and courage is just finding the strength to keep pretending. It takes guts to hold in your grief until there's nobody left to see the cracks. Stoicism doesn't mean being made of marble. It means learning to laugh when your insides feel like cheap IKEA furniture after the third move. You see, Ancient Stoics like Seneca advise that it's perfectly normal to feel pain, so long as you don't become its roommate. It's not shameful to hurt. It's not a failure to wish that someone, anyone, maybe even your dentist, would ask if you're okay. But sometimes the only answer to "how are you" is "I'm fine," spoken in a tone that could turn a sunflower grey. But hiding pain, that's a survival skill. Like squirrels stashing acorns, people squirrel away sadness, thinking there'll be a better season to unpack it. A spring day when friends aren't too busy, and you haven't run out of clean socks or energy. Some even turn heartbreak into garden gnomes, tucking it in the backyard so only they know where it's buried. At 2 a.m, the world gets awfully quiet, and all the jokes you told come back home, carrying tiny broken umbrellas. You count your regrets like sheep. Is it cowardly to never say, "I'm lonely"? Or, as Epictetus might ask, is it brave to bear the unbearable, to hold your wounded self like a secret lottery ticket, one you hope will someday pay out in connection and empathy? The loneliness, the grief, the longing for company, all of these are proof of feeling, of living. And Stoic wisdom reminds you, you are allowed to feel, but you don't have to become your feelings. Grief is just the shadow cast by love and laughter. And even though it hides in the cracks, it can't overwhelm a soul practiced in acceptance. If you're lying in bed, feeling like the only person adrift in an ocean of empty sheets, know that thousands of hearts are right there with you, each wrapped in their own brand of invisibility cloak. You aren't alone in feeling alone. Some people collect stamps, others collect sorrows. Both take patience. Both, oddly enough, can be shared. It takes strange, ridiculous courage to wake up again, to smile at strangers in the grocery store, to text a friend just to ask what the weather's like. That is not weakness. It is the quiet nobility of those who understand life's joke. Sometimes you laugh, just so you don't cry. And sometimes you laugh because you know tomorrow you'll try again. That honest, exhausted effort. That's the hidden gold in the grief, the reason to keep going, even when nobody else sees. Sometimes you lose jobs, lose homes, lose face. But Don Ramón teaches that dignity is not in what you do, but in how you do it, especially in defeat. This is where the Stoic finds unbreakable worth and where you reclaim your sovereignty. Picture Don Ramón, dust on his shoes and a mountain of unpaid rent bills, towering taller than his dignity's hairline. Imagine being evicted so often the cats in the alley start referring to you as roommate. Yet, he persists. With every door slammed, he straightens his patched-up jacket and somehow musters enough composure to tip his hat. Not in resignation, but in respect for himself. Because defeat, to a Stoic, or to Don Ramón, is not a verdict about who you are. It's a weird plot twist in the sitcom of life. And often, life is written by a prankster with a fondness for learning opportunities. But let's get serious between chuckles. Defeat feels like public failure, like that time you tried to make friends at the office karaoke night, and now you are a viral meme under top 10 tone-deaf renditions of Bohemian Rhapsody. In such moments, the Stoic secret isn't to pretend that defeat doesn't sting, but to refuse letting it define you. The loss? That's just circumstance. How you react? That's character. Don Ramón walks out pockets empty, but head held high. He even manages a joke for his landlady, as if the universe is an improv show, and he's refusing to be written out. This, friends, is dignity. Not the brittle buttoned up, I'm too good for this variety, but the kind that knows the worst that happens on the outside can't touch the invincibility you nurture within. A Stoic self-worth isn't up for eviction. You own the lease on your inner fortress, and no external force can foreclose on that property. So, you botched an exam, lost a job, flubbed a friendship. The world might label that a loss, but why forfeit your self-respect as collateral? A Stoic examines defeat the way a scientist might study mold in a petri dish, curiously, and at arm's length. What's in here for me? Is this a chance to build resilience, to practice patience, humility, or the fine art of not hurling your phone into a lake after reading rejection emails? Maybe. Notice how children, when they fall, stagger back up with a dramatic sigh, scan the audience for applause, or at least confirmation that their suffering has not gone unnoticed, and carry on, unashamed. Dignity isn't about never falling. It's about the flair with which you dust yourself off, stick a metaphorical flower in your lapel, and greet the next day with comedic timing. Losing, to a Stoic, is not a dead end, but a peculiar sort of detour. You haven't lost yourself unless you surrender your core and values, your integrity, kindness, wit, and the ability to laugh at calamity. When stripped of titles, dollars, or even a home-cooked meal, Don Ramon's self-possession stands in stubborn, splendid contrast to every misfortune, because no one, not even the most ruthless adversary or grumpiest landlord, can repossess your composure. It's locked tight in the vault of your own philosophy. When defeat sweeps your legs, remember, this is your opportunity for a standing ovation anyway. Bow if you want. Stoics bow in both triumph and disaster. But never lose your sense of self. Dignity is your inheritance. Defeat merely a temporary wardrobe malfunction. And in the end, as you navigate a world of spilled coffee, missed buses, and existential plot twists, accept this. Sometimes you lose. But if you carry yourself with humor and honor, you lose nothing that truly matters. Beyond the laugh track, Chespirito hid something precious. The wisdom in struggle, the richness in lack, the soft-spoken heroism of acceptance. This is the secret ending to every episode, where the real prize is invisible, the real journey is inward, and the real victory is serenity. To spot it, you'd need to turn off the TV and listen to the quiet after everyone has gone home. When the set is empty, that's when the magic lingers, like crumbs after a feast, or the warmth in a room when laughter finally runs out of breath. Chespirito knew that the most courageous laughs are minted in moments when hope is a rumour, and everything inside you begs to be disappointed. He was a master of the gaze that stares straight at lack and smirks anyway. Why? Because deficiency is the playground of resilience. The camera never showed what happens when Kiko's balloon pops and he sits in silence. There are no trumpets announcing Doña Florinda stretching a single meal for her boy, or Don Ramon's silent prayers for rent he'll never fully pay. What the camera never showed was how resignation becomes a superpower. If you can accept what you cannot change, if you become unshakable in the face of no, then you become rich in the currency of calm. The inhabitants of the Vecindad didn't have much, but they had the overlooked treasures, the ability to forgive quickly, to laugh first, to seek joy without permission slips from the universe. Chespirito's characters were cartoons, yes, but they were rebels in robes of humility. No matter how many times the universe bounced their rent check, they kept showing up for one another. They sang, danced, threw parties with imaginary cake, and made dignity their costume. And this is the lost Stoic lesson, a philosophy crusted with centuries of dust and now pulled from a battered barrel of Mexican comedy sketches. Accept life's lemons, but never the invitation to despair. Make lemonade? Sure, but only if you want to. You're just as welcome to sit with your lemons, draw faces on them, and put on a puppet show for the universe. Chespirito reminds us, joy is not delivered by Amazon Prime. It is handmade, patched, stapled together with borrowed hope, and served with a wink to all the invisible cameras. You know what the camera never showed? The off-screen courage of being gentle with yourself in the face of never having quite enough. The heroism of letting go of old battles and standing in your kitchen, elbows deep in suds, smiling for no one but yourself. The hilarity of tripping over the same existential broomstick over and over again and laughing harder each time. All victories that count happen far away from the applause. So sit back, warrior, as the credits roll in silence inside Don Ramon's humble home. Yes, your story might be messy. Maybe your kitchen leaks and your phone vibrates with overdue notifications. But tonight, you share a lineage. Those who find dignity despite loss. Those who wield laughter as shield and salve. Those who understand that what you don't have can never define who you are. Walk quietly out of this episode. Walk free. And remember, your peace is not up for negotiation. That serene poverty of spirit, the calm within lack, is your birthright and your badge. Let go, rest easy, and know you already are enough. So sit back, warrior, as the credits roll in silence inside Don Ramon's humble home. Yes, your story might be messy. Maybe your kitchen leaks and your phone vibrates with overdue notifications. But tonight, you share a lineage. Those who find dignity despite loss. Those who wield laughter as shield and salve. Those who understand that what you don't have can never define who you are. Walk quietly out of this episode. Walk free. And remember, your peace is not up for negotiation. That serene poverty of spirit, the calm within lack, is your birthright and your badge. Let go, rest easy, and know you already are enough.